If you're trying to figure out how to use Faceware Retargeter in Maya with character creator characters or iClone characters, this is the video for you. So let's get started. I previously got this working in February 2021, and I made videos for myself, just for my own process to remember, but I didn't post them anywhere. So in this video, I'm going to show you those videos. Unfortunately, I don't have time to make a really clear single video that explains it all, but this might help someone anyway. So the bottom line is that you've got to combine two different processes. You've got to combine blend shapes and bones, because blend shapes works for most of the facial movements of an iClone character within Maya, but it doesn't work for eyeball movement and it doesn't work for the jaw. So you need to, use a bone process for those. So here are the two videos. I hope this helps someone. I'm sorry it's not clearer, but here we go with the first video all about blend shapes, which is most of what you need to do for the face. So all I did, and this is just an iClone character, this is one of the default iClone characters, and the way it comes in is that you've got these morph transforms down here. Now these are not actually blend shapes, and that's really important to keep in mind. So selecting these is not going to do anything particularly useful. But if you go into Windows, Animation Editors, Shape Editor, there's a few different blend shapes in this scene, and this is the most important one. This is the blend shape, and this is the target. And if I adjust these, you can see the effect that they have on the mesh of this person. And then in order to set this up for Faceware, what I need to do is just go into Faceware Retargeter and open up Advanced and then Character Setup, and then start a new one. And I'm going to get rid of the head because the head is going to be animated as part of the body animation, the body mocap. So I just need these three. And I'm just going to be showing the blend shape parts of this. I'm not going to be showing the bones. So I find one of these blend transforms, and these are all the ones that any one of these, doesn't matter which one I choose, and then go Windows, General Editors, Hypergraph Hierarchy. And then when that comes up, I go to Graph, Input and Output Connections. And it's just zooming in on this example, this explosive, which is just a mouth shape. But the important thing here is it gives me access to select this blend shape. That's super, super important. So once I've done that, I then can click on Read Controls and click Update and actually get all of them. I get all of these blend shapes. If I don't have that selected, I don't. And if I select these blend transforms, that's going to give me the wrong type of item. See how it's giving me translate, rotate, and scale? So that's wrong. We don't want that because we want the blend shape, not positions. All right, so we're going to click on that morpher and then click update, and then it gives me all these options. So for the eyebrows, I'm just going to choose the ones that relate to that, add selected, then Control A to select all of these and say set to default value, which in this particular model, it's 0 for all of these. And then I'm going to go into eyes, click on Read Controls, same thing, just choose the eye ones, add selected, set to default value, mouth. And the mouth is going to be, in Faceware, the mouth is everything below the eyes. So it's actually everything except the brows in this case, and these eyes. But everything else is actually part of the mouth. Now, if you go all the way to the bottom, I don't know what that is. That's just something that happens with iClone characters. I'm going to go Add Selected. Select all, set to default value. And again, you can see all those at 0. So then I can go through and make my expression set, and I'm going to skip the eye direction ones, but I'm going to keep this off to the side. I'm not going to close it because I'll use it again later. I'll show you. But now what I need to do is go through and set up this file. So I'm just going to change the duration of this sequence to be 50 frames. And then before I do anything at all, and if I had any other bones that I needed to animate, I'd select those as well, hold down Shift and select those. And then go to 0 and go to Edit, Keys, Bake Simulation. And that's just a fast way of creating keyframes on every single frame for all of the items. And you can see that that's happened because in this channel box, you can see that there's red next to all of these, and red means that there's a keyframe on the particular frame. If that was pink, it means there's a keyframe, but not on that particular frame. Okay, so that's a good start. And then I just need to go through and set these. If I go eye blink left and I set that to 1, I then need to right click on that eye blink left and choose insert key. And then the important thing is that once again, I have this tile selected when I press finish selected expression. Otherwise, it's not going to save. So I can then go eye blink right click, say insert key, then click finish selected expression. And I can just keep going through these. And once I'm finished with those, I can then go back to control setup and just save my character setup file, the XML. And I've found that that works. So if I then just open up a new scene with just the character in it, but nothing set up inside Faceware Retargeter, and then I go advanced character setup, I can then load that file and everything is set up. Now, if I actually just click on these, it's not going to show, but that's normal. But what I can then do is go ahead and open a performance. In this case, I'm just going to open up one of the demo performance files. I can't remember if this FWR actually came as a download from the free assets, but I may have created that by parameterizing one of the demo things inside Analyzer. Anyway, and then I can load that character configuration file that I made, and with these settings, go ahead and run that. And what that's going to give me is sort of a partially working performance, because the eye movement won't have come in and the jaw movement hasn't come in either, because those are bones inside my character. So if I rewind that, I can play it though.
What was that? I thought you locked this place. Oh, shit.
So that's just an example animation. And I'll just show you here what that animation should look like.
What was that? I thought you locked this place. What was that? I thought you locked this place.
So obviously I still need to get the jaw working. But again, it's really important when you're going through and clicking finish selected expression that if you do have bones that you've made work, most likely it's going to be the jaw root for me, which is the jaw opening, and the eyes. It's really important that you're holding down Shift and making sure your blend shape is selected inside your hypergraph hierarchy, as I showed before. Otherwise, the process isn't going to work. Okay, now here's the second video from February 2021, and this is once I got the bones working,
but it required making a facial UI to get sliders to make it work, because the relationship between the rotation, oh my god, this is so boring, but if you actually just do a direct correlation between the rotation and the character, everything goes nuts. But anyway, here is the second video.
Here's a quick video on how to import a character from Character Creator into Maya and set up the absolute bare minimum facial UI. And the reason you need these is because when you import a character from Character Creator, you're not going to get full jaw control within the blend shapes. So you're going to need to actually control them via the bones. Same thing for the eye direction. Everything else is going to be inside the blend shapes. Pretty much you will end up with a bone root as the basis, and then you then rig that with human IK, and then you create this facial UI setup. And when you're animating, you're using a combination of adjusting this control for the jaw, and then these controls for the eyes. Then you're going into your main blend shape, and within that blend shape, you can then adjust all of the different blend shapes that Character Creator offers. And also, just to clarify, in case this is what you're trying to achieve, once you go to Maya and you make blend shape based animation, that blend shape animation or keyframes can't go back to iClone. It's a limitation of 3D Exchange. It doesn't support it. And to get started, we actually need to add another Maya scene to this scene. And that's also linked to download in this video. And you just need to go to File and then Import, and then find that Maya scene and import it. Now, it does have a bit of an odd name because it was constructed in a different setup that I was using the Caleb iClone character. But don't worry about that, it will still work fine. So you can move those around as much as you like by just selecting them all, or the three groups, and then moving them using the Translate tool. Double click on the slider jaw item, which will be the one at the top, and then drill down until you can find the CTL_jaw. Now that's the actual control, that's the square control object that's being used in the jaw. And you can see it's actually being constrained, so it can move up to +1 and then down to -3. Double click on the bone root right at the top and twirl down until you get to jaw root. And that's going to be the driven. So I need to set up that controller so it's actually driving that. Click on Rotate Z and say Edit, Set Driven Key. And then just click on the control square in here. And what that does is it actually selects the CTL_jaw that's in there. Then click Load Driver. Click on Translate Y. So then click Key and move this all the way to the top and select the jaw root. And this needs to be just closed slightly without breaking the mesh or anything. You don't want to go too far. But say we go to 88, that looks fine. And then I can press key. And then I want to grab this again, go all the way to the bottom. Click to select the jaw. And then rotate it so that we don't want to go too far, but at the same time, you also don't want to go too narrow because that's going to screw up various things. Okay, so that looks good, and I'm going to set a key there. So now when I am moving this, that's now connected, and if I zero that out, it's going to zero it out. So before I'm done with the jaw completely, there's one more thing I need to do, and that's click on the driven object and then go to Windows, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, and it's going to show this graph. And if I just marquee select these, so basically it's not a linear curve. So as we're moving that control up and down, it's not linear, which is super not helpful. So there's a button here that just changes the tangents to linear, which is what I need. Perfect. And I can just close that. And that's done. So for eye rigging, it's a little bit hit and miss. So if you go into the eyes, some characters that you get from Character Creator seem to default to a rotate X of 180 and then the rotate Y one. So basically these three values. And that creates a problem. And well, it's a signal to you that it's going to be a problem, because if you click on rotate, well, if I just manually change the Y value here, it's spinning around like that. And now if I change this, it's going up and down. If I change this, it's going up and down. So we don't have a horizontal movement. So it's just a bit of a quirk with how it's come into Maya. I don't really understand it, but you can fix it. Well, I don't know if you can fix it necessarily, but you can adjust it. So if you change this value of rotate X, the default value to rotate X to 90, and change rotate Z to 90, and then make sure you need to be on the frame 0, and then press S. And S just sets a keyframe for everything, or anything that you've got selected. So that is going to give you the only workaround that I know about, because then you're going to get horizontal movement with rotate Y. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing here with the left eye. Just change the rotate X and rotate Z to 90 and make sure I'm on 0, which I am, and press S to set that. Those will now work, and I'll go through the process. But if you've used Maya, you know that what I just did is also going to create some other problems. But, whatever. So right eye is going to be the driven. That's what I need to drive. And I need it to be rotate Y that I'm driving. So I've clicked on rotate Y, go edit, set driven key. I'm then going to click on this controller here. So that's just selected the CTLIR controller. And I want this to be moving side to side to affect that rotate Y. So that's going to be translate X. So now I'm going to click on load driver and then click on translate X. Then I'm going to set a key. So then I'm going to click on the controller and move it all the way to the left. And I'm going to then click on the base eye, adjust this so it is looking to the left. I'm going to write down these values, so because I'm going to have to do them again on the other side. So that is -72, fine, and that is fine. And I'm going to set the key. Now I'm going to click on this controller, go all the way to the right, and then click on base eye and move this so it is looking all the way to the right. So -116 is my extreme that way, and say set key. And then I'm going to click on the eye, Windows, Animation Editors, Graph Editor, and then just select these rounded items and go for linear key. Great. And that's not going to work in this direction, it's only going to work in this direction, because that's the first way we're setting it up. All right, so then so now with right eye selected again, I'm just going to work out which direction, which one of these is going to be rotating vertically, and it's going to be the rotate X. So clicking on rotate X, edit, set driven key, and then I want to click on this eye right thingy, click on that, load driver. Actually, I just need to click it on there. So the driven is the rotate X of the eye, and the driver is the translate Y, sorry, this way vertically, of this controller. So that's correct. And now I want to move all the way up and switch to my eye and rotate that upwards and set a key. Then click on it and go all the way down. Click on the eye, go all the way down, set a key, and then that will then work, and it will actually work all directions now. But what I need to do is click on that eye and go into Animation Editor's Graph Editor and just make sure these are all on linear. So now I'm just going to fast forward through the process of doing the exact same thing for the other eye, because it is exactly the same. And then we end up with two eyes that work. And I can move them both at the same time. So now I have the facial UI set up. And for the blend shapes, of course, I can, well, you can just click on these, but that's not going to help you. So to actually access the blend shapes that you want to get to, there's a few ways to do it, but the way that I always end up doing it is that I go into the Windows General Editor's hypergraph hierarchy, and with one of these first ones, not the tongue, but open explosive, one of these ones, and not the ones with down here, because these are for the tier line and the occlusion and things. So let's say explosive, click on explosive. Well, in the hypergraph hierarchy, I can press this key here, input and output connections, or go into graph, input and output connections. And then I get this tile, morpher_cc_base. And this is the blend shape. The morpher is the blend shape, and these are all of the morph targets. And you can see there's no keys at the moment set on any of this because it's not red. So in order to start animating, you need to set up a single click that selects all of your controls, so your jaw, right eye, and left eye, and also selects all of your blend shapes. Well, actually, there's only one key blend shape and then lots of morph targets. So how do you do that? Well, open up your custom shelf and open up Windows General Editor's script editor. And the script editor, okay, so if I get rid of this stuff, I'm just going to clear this so that doesn't get confusing. Okay, and now I'm going to carefully select these controllers. So in here, when this is already at, when I look at this, the CTL_jaw, that's one of the controllers. You can see it lit up. And then that's one of the controllers. I mean, I could just be clicking directly in here, but I just wanted to show you where they are in the outliner. And then, not that one, that's the group. And then that's one of the controllers. Okay. And what? So that is what we want to, that would be what we want to set as far as keyframes for the jaw, the eyes. And then as far as the blend shapes, what we want to select is actually this morpher CC base, because that's the blend shape. So you end up with being able to construct something in here. So I don't know if this is clear or not, but I'm going to construct these three, make sure there's a space between them. And I actually want to make a select space dash CL. Was that a hyphen? I don't know. Space semicolon. So this is what I want if I just want to select everything. So now what I'm going to do is middle mouse button and then drag that into here. And if I right click on this, you'll see it's just written there. It's written out there, and I can adjust that if I want to. So what does that do? Well, if I click on that, it's going to select everything that I want. And it's also going to be, where's my hierarchy? So now if I click on this, you can see it's selected this blend shape and it selected those three. So then if you then press S to set a keyframe, you will be setting a keyframe with all those things set. Does that make sense? One would hope so. So that's a useful workaround. You also need to use that when you're, especially if you're working with Faceware or any other various plugins, you'll need to be able to set keyframes like that. And of course, you can set keyframes with everything that you have selected by just going Edit, Keys, Bake Simulation, and that just does that. And red means a keyframe. There's a keyframe on that frame. And there we go. So that's how you set up a facial UI for an iClone, well, for a character created character that you've brought in.
All right, that's the end of that second video from February 2021. And I know it's not perfectly on topic about Faceware Retargeter and iClone, but you have to use those techniques for the bones and combine them with that first video to use the blend shapes. All right, I hope that's helpful, and let me know in the comments if it was, and if you have a better way to do any of this, also let me know and send me a link to anything that you've done. Okay, thanks so much.